Baseball 1 day away. Opening day is Thursday. Yankees and Nationals kicking things off. This is the Rich Report, bringing you the richest content across entertainment. Welcome back to the channel if you're watching on YouTube, and thanks if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. My name is Cameron Richardson. We're talking about baseball, giving our predictions for the 2020 season. It's been 4 months, 4 damn months in the making to finally get the season underway, and we're finally getting it tomorrow. Joining me, as always, today, David Church and Johnny Crane. Gentlemen, how are you doing the day before baseball returns?
I literally could not be happier. I've been waiting for this day. We didn't think it would get here. There were thoughts there would be no season, but it turns out there is a season. It's only 60 games, but at least there's something to fulfill my need to watch baseball and to watch my Arizona Diamondbacks just try to meet expectations, but probably end up failing them, which is okay, but it's still here. We love our teams regardless.
So sorry you're a D-backs fan. I'm sorry.
Okay, whatever, dude. Whatever.
Look, if you asked me 1 month ago when the owners and the players were bickering back and forth if there would be a season, I would tell you negatory, not happening. The fact that baseball is happening tomorrow, the games that count, it's only 60 games, but hey, it's something. Like David said, I'm ecstatic. Even as an Orioles fan, I'm ecstatic. Let's get going.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us, what was it, last month or 2 months ago, made a video talking about the death of baseball and fire Rob Manfred. You can check that out. That's in our catalog of videos we've done. But yeah, I don't know how we got here. It went from 0 to 100 like in the snap of a finger. It was, oh, we're not playing baseball at all. Until all of a sudden, oh, now we're playing baseball. See what could have happened if they would have just, talked and communicated better. Crazy what could happen. I moved locations. I am at Dodger Stadium. It's cloudy, just like it is outside. Actually, right now, it's actually cloudy, so it is accurate. I could actually be at Dodger Stadium. We don't know.
Why would you want to be there? See your team lose in the World Series again?
Okay. You're going mute. You're mute. David's muted. All right. Johnny Crane is going to kick things off with our previews. He's going to look at his team, the Baltimore Orioles. Oh, my Lord. The Baltimore Orioles. Did they win 50 games last year? Did they win 50 games?
Yeah, they won 50 plus because they lost only 108. So that puts
only
them in
100.
Oh, thank goodness it's only 108.
What was that, 54 and 108? Yeah.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
All right, Johnny. Is this a tank? Is this an 0-60 type of season you want? Or do you think, hey, let's try to win maybe 15 games?
It's looking probably like a 15-45, maybe 20-40 if some planets align kind of season. But honestly, even though they're going to play their hearts out, even though they're going to try to win, try to compete, the idea and the long-term goal is to compete in 2023 and 2024. I've been saying that to y'all forever, and I think that motive definitely holds true for this year. The whole idea this year will be to see if the prospects and some of the younger guys in the player pool can sort of find their major league footing this year, as potentially they can go into next season with, theoretically a full 162 game slate with some major league experience under their belt. And with Mike Elias, the executive vice president and general manager of the Orioles, his goal will be to not only build up to that 2023-2024 competing window, but also to gauge the talent that's on the team already, not only in the prospect sense that I already mentioned, but also the major league sense. If Chris Davis is going to be stuck with the Orioles, that contract isn't going anywhere. But if Alex Cobb, Michael Givens, et cetera, if they can sort of rebound from some subpar seasons and injury issues, maybe they could be traded and get their contracts off the book and get a couple more prospects into the farm system. I think gauging what's on the major league roster now can gauge and potentially give the Orioles more prospects via any trades they do. And again, also it helps the prospects that the Orioles do intend to keep to give them some footing and some major league experience. So the long-term goal holds true. And I think even though they might not compete and win a lot of games, the long-term goal is still in place, and I think that is the bigger idea and bigger goal this year.
Now, let's talk about a team here, boys. Let's talk about a team.
David's had a running thing since, I don't know, the start of 2020. We're saying the NL West runs through Arizona, which has not been the case since I believe 2011 was the last time the Diamondbacks won the NL West. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, but here's the big fact is you guys are just a bunch of haters and can't believe the hype.
I don't hate Arizona. I do hate Arizona. I did love Paul Goldschmidt though. He is one of my favorite players, and he still is today, even though he's on an even worse team in the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay, anyways, let me get to the good stuff here, okay? So, yes, I have on record saying that the NL West runs through Arizona. Is it going to happen this year? No. I'm realistic. Let's be real here. I know it's a joke, it's a common joke, and I'm not claiming that they're going to win the NL West anymore because we know what's going to happen. The Dodgers are going to run ranch shot on the entire thing. They're going to destroy every single person's hopes and dreams, and it's going to be whatever. But here's the thing. The Diamondbacks are in such a good spot right now. Now, they're not in the spot to, go after a division win, but they have a ton of talent that has not been looked at. GM Mike Hazen has taken this team from the gutter that it was in when Dave Stewart was in charge of our team, the worst GM in MLB history, who traded for a guy, I don't know, what's his name, Shelby Miller, who averaged a 6 ERA in his 2 years with the team. He's taken this team and has done great things with it. He traded Paul Goldschmidt, a franchise player. A lot of people hated that trade, but look at what we got from it. Carson Kelly, a great prospect catcher who has great potential to be something really, really good for the team. Luke Weaver, another young pitcher that is now under the wings of Madison Bumgarner, one of the best pitchers we've seen in the last few years. He's had some injuries. He has had some issues with injuries, but he's still a veteran guy. And postseason Matt Bum is scary to deal with. We have a lot of guys that we're looking forward to kind of take what they did in 2019 and build up. Nick Ahmed, finally, his bat came around. He's been a defensive guy for the entire time in his MLB career. He's finally got the bat going around, and he's going to build off that in 2020. Christian Walker, under the radar, hit almost 30 home runs this last year. He's got to work on his strikeout to home run ratio, but it's something to build on. Ketel Marte was fourth in MVP voting this year. He was Arizona is one of the most under the radar teams because they still need to do some work. The bullpen is an issue. We cannot rely on Archie Bradley and Hector Rondon. It's not going to happen. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy even thinking that the Diamondbacks are actually going to win the division. But in the few years, they're going to put some serious pressure. I'm not hearing all this Padres crap about them being, the second best team in the NL West. The second best team in the NL West is the Arizona Diamondbacks, and we will be happy with second for now until we're ready to get into the moving. So Diamondbacks will probably, for realistic, at least 35 wins in my eyes. But again, we'll see. At least 5 to 10 games above 500. That's achievable for this team.
Yeah, you set the bar so low. Oh, I'll be happy if we finish second place in the NL West. No. Well, that's in part because you got no chance of beating the Dodgers, as you saw a little teaser of that for the back on Sunday. What was it? Was it just Monday or was it Sunday and Monday? It was Sunday and Monday that we played the Diamondbacks.
Sure, I'm not thinking about that. So
I'm
glad you're happy. I'm glad you're happy about a spring training games. I'm happy that you're happy about that because it means so much.
I'm sorry. Who's the first one that brought it up again? That was you. You're the one that started talking because the Diamondbacks are up early. But never mind. Stick to your B team in the NL West.
Fake news.
I got one name for you, gentlemen. Mookie Betts is a Dodger for the next 13 years, because this includes this year. $380 million, I believe, right? That was the final number. About time we paid someone well. But this means it sets the tone for the future now. There's still a future for the Dodgers, even with all the success, the division success they've had the last 7-8 years. And it means that the big extension Kershaw got in 2018 is essentially a thank you for your service after that, we can sort of move on from you. But yeah, I mean, once again, this year is going to be another legacy-defining season for Kershaw, going to the playoffs every season. Every time the Dodgers make the playoffs, it's legacy-defining for him. Mookie Betts I mean, you're just tacking on more steam to an already fire lineup. I mean, look, you just go down the lineup. Oh, and by the way, the MLB instituted the DH, the universal DH. So now the Dodgers can go and throw a Jock Peterson who can hit 25 plus home runs in a regular season. You throw him in the 9 spot. He's essentially he could be a second leadoff guy because he used to be a leadoff guy as well. I don't know why David's looking all tired, and he should be fired up for good baseball. You know, he could come over to LA and watch some good baseball. He watches good baseball when the Dodgers play the D-backs. I'll tell him that. My one question with the Dodgers, though, is what they do with the rotation, what they do with the bullpen, how that works out. Buehler's going to return when they play Houston next week. You got Kershaw. You got Urias. You know, Dustin May could get called up at some point. Tony Gonsolin as well, who had a few good outings last year. And then he sort of, it sort of works out from there with, Urias. And, I think with this year specifically, I think a 4-man rotation will be the more likely scenario. Just gives, there's not many days you need off. You're not pitching. You're not getting 20, 25 outings. So, and with the postseason just so close, this is practically a month of September type of scenario. I don't think you need 5 days of rest unless you do pitch, let's say 120, you're throwing 8 innings. You essentially just need to keep going to keep that arm, don't make sure the arm doesn't, just to get it worked in. And so when the postseason does come around, when it's already, you're on a shorter rest period, that I think this will play out throughout this regular season. So it could be a Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Alex Wood, Urias, just straight up rotation, and everybody else goes to the bullpen. Now, there could be a potential 7-8-9 like the Royals had in 2015. Not as good, but there's something there with Blake Trinan, Brusdar Graterol. I think I botched that name, and then Kenley Jansen in the ninth. Now, Kenley Jansen needs to return to what he did in 2017. Not Game 2 in the World Series, Jansen, but the Jansen that was a Cy Young contender that year. So there's really no gaps that I have to complain about the Dodgers. It's once again another make or break year. They have to win again, like they've had since 2017. I need to see more out of Corey Seager because Corey Seager was hyped up along with Cody Bellinger as this guy's gonna be MVP candidate every year. He's got to show up more. Cody Bellinger is gonna show out in the 60-game season. He could bat 380 by the time season's over, but that 170 playoff batting average is not going to fly. I need him to wake up and be the guy that plays like the MVP does in the regular season. And then, I mean, you can't not love Max Muncy. Max Muncy, absolute stud with the Dodgers. Was raking last year, raked in the playoffs. He's been that guy along with Justin Turner. They are the heart and soul of that Dodgers club, and hopefully Cody Bellinger this year can finally step up and be the guy the Dodgers and the Dodger community has been wanting to depend on for the last 3 years, but it hasn't happened. So, I mean, I expect plus 45 win season at the bare minimum. I wouldn't be shocked if they win 50. But it all comes back to the playoffs. I really don't care about the regular season. Just win the division, get to the postseason as the number 1 seed. That's all that really matters, and then we'll go from there. Moving on, we're going to name our division winners. We're going to start in the AL with the AL West. So we'll just do all 3 together. So I'm going to kick it to Johnny first. Johnny, who are the 3 teams that walk away with division titles in 2020?
So I'll start with the AL West. Like you said, look, I know they had a cheating scandal, but even still, they're going to be thrown out a lot this year. And I know they lost Garrett Cole in the offseason. However, in a shortened season, even though Houston's rotation is getting up there in age, Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke are both 35-plus years old. They get Lance McCullers back. In a shortened season, I definitely think that when you look at overall roster balance in that division, I think the Astros still take the cake. They still have a really good offense. We'll see how the offense is this year when they're going to be constantly getting thrown at, as we saw what the Royals did to them. I think in a shortened season, they come out with the division in the AL West. When I move over to the AL Central, it's the Minnesota Twins. Now, I know the Cleveland Indians have a little more pitching than the Minnesota Twins do. However, in a shortened season again, we might be seeing a lot more teams competing and a lot more offense than I think people might be thinking will actually happen. I think that pitching will definitely play a factor in the postseason. But in a shortened season, a pitching starved team might be able to get by and potentially might be able to compete with a high-octane offense. Now, of course, the Minnesota Twins do have Jose Barrios, who is a potential number one kind of starter. But I just think that the offense for Minnesota is too much for Cleveland to really handle. The White Sox are an intriguing team, but I think it's Minnesota's division to lose. And then when I move over to the AL East, now look, I love the Tampa Bay Rays roster. It's a great roster, bottom 3 payroll, and they're still able to put up a excellent roster offensively and starting pitching and relieving wise. But it's the New York Yankees. Look, they won 100-plus games last year, when practically every one of their big-time players was injured at least once. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gary Sanchez, James Paxton. The list goes on and on. And look, I know they don't have Luis Severino this year, but they brought in someone by the name of Garrett Cole, who throws 97-plus, who might even throw 100-plus in a shortened season, given how his workload might be. I just think if they're healthy, and by the looks of it, they are for the most part, I think they're the most balanced team in the American League and potentially in all of baseball. So it's the New York Yankees in the AL East.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. AL West, Astros, unfortunately. AL Central, Twins. AL East, Yankees. Now, the AL, I'm going to more just talk about the teams that could give those, division winners, projected division winners in my eyes, a run for their money. I think that the Athletics, coming from last year being in a wild card and just destroying, just messing everything up again in the wild card, I think they're going to be a little bit better. I'm not ready to be completely sold on the Angels because, yeah, great. They got Anthony Rendon in the offseason, but where's their pitching? It's going to have to – it's not going to be this year, but it's going to be – they're close. They're close. They just need a little bit more. Don't sleep on the White Sox in the AL Central. The White Sox, picked up Yasmani Grandal in the offseason, have great young guys like Luis Robert, who's going to show up for the first time, Yohan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez. Those guys are going to be, trying to mash the ball. Tim Anderson, that team is a good, stacked, pretty decent team, but not completely ready to compete. But they could give the Twins a run for their money. Because the Twins, yes, they have a very high-potent offense, but their pitching is still a little bit of a question mark at times. The AL East, the Blue Jays could surprise a lot of people. The Blue Jays went in a little bit with Hyun-Jin Ryu, getting him in the offseason to kind of bolster that rotation. Bo Bichette, came on as a fire stick in the last year. Same thing with Vlad Jr. Vlad Jr. has a lot more to prove, but he definitely could do it. That's a solid team to start with. They have a lot of young guys that can look to build themselves up a little bit more. Besides the division winners that are projected in my eyes as the Yankees, the Twins, and the Astros, those teams that I talked about could definitely make a run for their money, and it could be interesting come towards the end when they're trying to race for a division win.
Yeah, with the AL West, I unfortunately have to go with the guys that bang on trash cans to know what pitch is coming. So, yeah, the team that must not be named, the cheaters that will suffer any of the consequences that come with not just owning up to the fact that they cheated. They want to hide everything. They don't want to just, have any sort of humility. I mean, shameless cheating. I mean, it's ridiculous. They deserve everything that's coming to them in terms of retaliation. I will not feel bad. I have no sympathy for the Houston Astros. God, I would say the Athletics, but they're sort of a team that gets better as the season goes on, and there's no time to start off slow. You have to go now. You have to treat this as September. It's time to go. AL Central, I got a surprise here. Like David said, the White Sox aren't ready. I think they are. I really like this roster, especially for a shortened season. The rotation isn't terrible with Giolito, Keuchel, Gio Gonzalez. That's a pretty fair 1-2-3. Bullpen isn't terrible either with Colomb and Steve Cishek. You also have a World Series champion in Kelvin Herrera as well. And then you look at the position players. Grandal, I have my thoughts on him, but he gets the job done. Jose Abreu, you got Edwin at the DH, Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, all great young talents that in a shortened season like this can produce and could do enough to, in a pretty weak AL Central. Let's be honest here. The AL Central is not fun in the slightest. Indians bored their way to about what? It feels like they won 4 or 5 straight divisions just by default. But I think the White Sox do have some firepower, and they can be relevant for the first time in 15 years since they won the World Series.
Yeah, I would be real quick. Sorry, I would be a little bit sold on them more if Michael Kopech was actually playing this year. He opted out because of coronavirus, but I think he definitely could have been something to build them a little bit more. I would have been more sold if he was actually playing, but since he's decided to opt out this year, it is what it is at this point. But that when Michael Kopech's ready to go, he's probably going to be the next, big pitching star in the MLB.
Yeah, and then AL East, I think the Yankees in a landslide. Like the same thing goes with the Rays when it comes to a shortened season versus a long season. They get better as the season goes along, and like I said with the A's, there's just no time to start off, 5-15 and then pick it up later on. It's just there's no time. You have to go now. So yes, we're gonna start with the NL. We're gonna start with the NL West. The Dodgers are gonna win it. So gentlemen, just say the Dodgers so we can move on to the NL Central.
It's the Dodgers. Look, it's the Dodgers. David,
no, it's not.
Hold on. It's the Dodgers, David. But, David, you need to shield your ears for the next thing I'm going to say. You bring up the White Sox, how they might be able to compete right now. The National League equivalent to the White Sox is the San Diego Padres. Look, the Padres have, if there are going to be 2 ways – look, there are going to be a lot of teams that compete this year. Look, David even left the screen. If a lot of teams are going to compete in a shortened season, it's going to be one of 2 ways. They're either going to have a lot of overall roster balance, i.e. the Dodgers and the Yankees, or they might have a significant roster strength to mask any potential weakness that might show itself in 162 games but will not show itself in 60 games. And with the Padres, their potential roster strength comes in their prospect pool. When you look at their prospect pool, Mackenzie Gore, top 5 prospect in all of baseball right now, the best windup a left-hander you would think of. It is the goofiest windup ever, but it is the coolest windup ever. If he comes onto the scene and you pair him with Chris Paddock, that's a big duo right there. I mean, you combine them with Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer. Maybe in 162 games he's really not worth that contract, but maybe in 60 games he is. There's some veteran depth there. There's some youth there, similarly to the White Sox. The White Sox brought in a lot of nice veterans to supplement the youth. And when you have that nice, unique blend, they might surprise people. And I think you really can't take them for granted. So, David, I'm sorry. Look, they might not get second. The D-backs still should get second. However, don't take the Padres lightly, okay?
The fact that you guys still are sleeping on my team, it is
You said you were
disgusting. I'm done with it. I told you exactly what I was going to do. I'm not hearing any of this Padres crap about them being second best. They're not. We're second best, and we're okay with being second best for the time being.
Just admit your team's not good, man. I mean,
hey, because my team is good.
Hey, at least Chase Field, the ambiance will be similar because no fans show up unless the Dodgers are playing, unless it's a major team playing at Chase Field. What? Sorry, it's just the truth.
Okay, to move on from this terrible show that I was so excited for, and now you guys have just crushed my dreams. Dodgers will win the NL West. You know what? I'm going to give you the full breakdown. Dodgers win NL West. Diamondbacks second. Thank you very much. Padres third. Giants fifth. Or, excuse me, Rockies fourth. Giants fifth. Because I didn't even think about the Rockies. Rockies are so irrelevant at this point now.
NL Central, anybody? Can we talk about the
David,
NL Central?
David, you can take the show.
Huh?
NL Central.
I can.
know what I'm doing.
I can talk about it. Look, okay, it's the Cardinals, okay? The Cardinals are, when you look, again, either significant roster strength or overall roster balance. The Cardinals bring overall roster balance. Jack Flaherty is one of the best young pitchers in the game. He is their Walker Buehler for them. But dark horse Cy Young candidate. I think if you get him and you get some nice pieces behind him like Miles Michaelis, Dakota Hudson, that's a good rotation there. Good veterans, Yadier Molina, Dexter Fowler, Paul Goldschmidt. Some nice pieces there. Now, the second team in that division, I want to talk about them because they're going to be a wild card team. You can hold me to it. They are going to turn heads. The Cincinnati Reds. Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Trevor Bauer. That three is potentially the best in the NL Central upside-wise. And when you look at the Cincinnati Reds rotation last year, actually wasn't that bad. They were first or second in pretty much every starting pitching category in the NL Central alone. And they were within the top third of baseball in all of those categories as well. ERA, innings pitched, strikeouts per nine, and so on. And also in the offseason, look, they got Nick Castellanos, they got Mike Moustakas. If you supplement those players with Joey Votto, Eugenio Suarez, Jose Peraza, so on and so forth, Nick Senzel, that's a nice offense that underperformed last year, but if they can get healthy, when you combine that potential offense with that starting pitching, that is very deadly. Watch out for the Cincinnati Reds, but it's still probably the Cardinals division.
I'm actually going to bet all in on the Reds. I think they could easily do it. I think the Cardinals have good pieces, yes, with Jack Flaherty and Miles Michaelis in the bullpen, or not the bullpen, the rotation, but I feel like the Reds can do it. I think they need a little bit more help in the bullpen. I don't know what's going to happen with trades this season. They might look to move some people to try to get some more bullpen depending on where the position is towards the end of the season, if they're actually pushing. But I would count the Reds right now as, with that offense, how it is, and with that three-headed monster they have at the rotation, I think that is a serious team to beat, and it can give serious problems to the other teams in the NL Central. So I'll say it right here. I think the NL Central goes to the Reds. I feel like that's a good team to bet on. I feel like the Cardinals sometimes can't, can sometimes have struggles with delivering and actually, staying where they are at that point. Yadier Molina is obviously one of the best catchers we've ever seen in the game, but, he's not getting any younger. And he hasn't been the best on the offensive side. His defense is always going to be there regardless, but he has not been there on the offensive side. So I put the Reds down as the NL Central winner easily for me.
I have the Cardinals winning just because of what they did to the Atlanta Braves in last year's NLDS. I mean, they sort of came out of nowhere. Now that they know, this team is really good, I think they're once again going to walk away with the division. However, the Reds are a team that intrigues me. I do see them getting one of the wild card spots. They will be in that NL wild card game. But, yeah, outside of that, I think the Cubs are past their prime. The Brewers still don't have any pitching to their name. And then the Pirates are going to pirate. All right, the NL East. I'm going to start here with the NL East. It's the Nationals, guys. Come on. It's the Nationals. The team, it's not going to be the Phillies. If I hear the Phillies on this show, I'm kicking all of you out of the show. No, the Nationals, I mean, what we saw last year, just unreal. Came out of nowhere, took out the Dodgers in Game 5 of the NLDS in a very traumatic fashion. That was the worst live radio show I ever had the day after. The morning
Howie
after.
Kendricks, your daddy.
That was awful. That was disgusting. I'm still grossed out by it. But I have respect for the Nationals. Juan Soto, and I'll play spoiler, Juan Soto is my guy to win MVP this year in the NL. I love everything he's doing. Was amazing in the playoffs, and I just think he's just going to have one of those years, just goes off, just insane this year. So Nationals will win the NL East.
Yeah, this division is stacked all of a sudden now. Like the Nationals, sorry, what, Johnny?
Yes, it is stacked, save for the Marlins, but continue.
Well, when was the last time the Marlins were actually relevant besides them being notoriously bad? So, obviously the Marlins I wasn't not talking about, but the top four that we're talking about, Braves, Mets, Phillies, Nationals, all of those teams could make a bid to win the division. I am not necessarily sold on the Nationals winning the division. They did lose Anthony Rendon, one of their main pieces in that lineup. Juan Soto is obviously going to go ham this entire year. They still have great pitching, but I'm putting my money on the Braves. I think their team is just all around very well-rounded and well done. The lineup is crazy with Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman. That team is going to be another contender for the division and probably win it in my eyes, and could make their way finally to a pennant race. I think depending on who they stack up against, I wouldn't feel bad about them being in a race for the NL pennant. So I'm putting my money on the Braves in the NL East. It's going to be close between the Nationals and the Phillies. Let's be real here. The Phillies have some good pieces, but not an entire team. What is your beef with the Phillies? Like, I really want to know this. What's your problem?
The one overrated player in MLB history, the most overrated player in MLB history by the name of
okay, moving on.
Bryce Harper.
Okay, whatever. Moving on. So, yeah, I'm putting my money on the Braves for the NL East.
My money's on the Braves as well. However, the Washington Nationals will be in a wild card spot. But you said it earlier, Cameron. If they start off slow, remember where were the Nationals last year coming into June 1st? They were a sub 500. Their bullpen was atrocious. It was worse than the Orioles, surprisingly. Okay, they started the season very slow. They turned it on late, but in a season where it's only 60 games, they don't have that luxury to start off slow and to build up and to be the national team that won the World Series. They'll still be in the playoff hunt in the wild card spot, but like David said, I think the Atlanta Braves overall roster balance and the youth like the Padres have, I think that they have a lot of young pieces they can potentially put into the lineup, into the starting rotation, or they could trade to get somebody. However, I have the Braves winning the division. However, I need to talk about the New York Mets because the New York Mets are a team that I think could be a wild card team, big time. Yes, they lost Noah Syndergaard. However, let me tell you this. Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, Steve Matz, so on. That's a nice rotation right there in itself. And when you combine that with their offense, which has the polar bear Pete Alonso, J.D. Davis, Jeff McNeil, who was potentially a batting champion last year and the year before, that's a pretty sneaky good offense. And even though they don't have Noah Syndergaard, that was one of their pitchers I think that could have taken them over the top. They still have some nice starting pitching depth and a good offense. And in 60 games, maybe Edwin Diaz turns it around and is worth the trade that the Mets did to get Robinson Cano and Diaz. So watch out for the New York Mets.
We are going to move into our playoff predictions. We have our division winners now. It's time to break this field off into pennant winners. We're going to start with the NL. Johnny, who is taking the NL pennant this year, and how do you see what will be the path for that team?
Good job, Cameron. Your team is winning the NL pennant. Okay, look, when you compare I love the Atlanta Braves. I love the Cincinnati Reds. I love the Cardinals. However, the Dodgers are in a class of their own when you look at their overall roster, starting pitching, potentially in their bullpen, and their lineup. The Dodgers are the perfect team to have because they have great prospects. They have a great major league roster in itself, and they have what they just gave Mookie Betts, money. When you combine all that together, you have a super team that has won 50,000 division titles in a row. Sure, the Atlanta Braves could give them a run for their money. Sure, the Cardinals, Jack Flaherty might have a couple good games against the Dodgers. But I just think the Dodgers' overall depth, even with David Price sitting out, I just think that their depth is too much to handle on the starting pitching and the overall lineup quality that they have. I just think it's the Dodgers.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be the Dodgers in the pennant, but not winning it. I'm taking the Braves to win the pennant. I like this team.
Is this out of salt? Is this out of salt? You got some salt behind you? What is that? What is that behind you?
This is clear fact. Because you know why the Dodgers are not going to win the pennant? One person. Exactly. They're going to put faith in him again. Dave Roberts is going to put faith in him again. He's going to say, Clayton, we got a 10-run lead. Just finish out this game, and we're good. What's going to happen? Braves is going to score 11 runs.
Y'all can call me a Dodger homer all you want, but you know what? I also am the Dodgers' biggest critic as well. Well, Clayton Kershaw's, to say least. But if you don't perform, yes, you will get called out, and it's not going to be pretty.
Okay, but seriously, all jokes aside, I am taking the Braves to win the pennant. I think the Dodgers have a great team. I understand that. They have a team that I would probably make in MLB The Show with the salary cap turned off in franchise mode. So it makes perfect sense why a lot of people would take them to win the pennant. But I think that there's going to be issues with that team. We have guys with injury issues. Corey Seager has not been the same guy. Cody Bellinger has not proven himself as much in the postseason. But then the factor of the matter is we don't know what the postseason is going to actually be like for this season. It's not going to be the same situation where you're going to have roaring fans and just a bunch of people screaming at you. It's going to be this awkward silence of it. It's going to be this serious, like, basically just change of culture on how it works and how it actually goes. The format is the same, but the experience and the energy is going to be completely different. So I think that could play a huge factor on this. And I think it benefits the Dodgers a little bit because they won't have, that pressure on them as much, but they'll still have the pressure on them to win. And I think it's going to be too much. I'm going to go with the Braves to win the pennant.
Now, here's the X factor here. If they choose to keep this specific guy on the roster, and that's Terrence Gore, that is a huge X factor. You may not think about it now, but really think here. What's been the Dodgers' main problem? It's not getting runners on base. It's getting runners by home plate and scoring runs. You bring in a guy like Terrence Gore, who, let's say you throw him in the 6th, 7th inning, you got a runner on second. Let's say it's Max Muncy type or Chris Taylor type. They aren't really fast guys, and all you got to do is get him home. 180 feet, you got one out, a couple ground balls, sac fly. That's going to bring in Terrence Gore, and he's going to steal bases. What do the Dodgers not do often? Steal bases. You bring in an aggressive runner, a fast guy like Terrence Gore, that changes everything the Dodgers have been doing the last couple of years. It's been one of the key reasons why they have not gotten over the hump and won the World Series, because they don't have the base running to be able to be aggressive and, have a guy steal 1-2 bases and already be in scoring position with 0 out. So if they keep him on the roster, which they should, that is a huge X factor and going to be one of the main reasons why they win this NL pennant. Now, what I'm interested in is that wild card race, because I think it's going to be the Reds versus the Mets. But David, you might like this, but it's that second NL West team could also be in there as well, whether it be the D-backs or the Padres, because the Padres are a good team. I think that team also as well. So I think it's really a three-horse race, and then you throw in, potentially the Phillies, and then you got the Braves as well. So Braves, but I think it's gonna be the Reds and the Mets, depending on how the NL East plays out.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all you have to say?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all. But so now moving on to the American League.
The AL.
Yeah.
To the
The
AL.
American League, it's hard to put anybody against the Yankees at this point. They're just absolute monsters whenever they come to the plate. They're scary. And it's just, what else can you say? Like, I don't see the Twins are obviously good and the Astros are going to be there, but the Yankees are just the Yankees are the AL Dodgers at this point now. It really is. And if I see a Yankees-Dodgers World Series, I'm never coming out ever again. I'm probably just gonna.
It's the Dream World Series. How could you not want to watch Yankees versus Dodgers in the World Series?
Because it's a nightmare World Series.
It's a dream for me. That's gonna be hella fun.
Anyways, I don't care who they face in the AL pennant and the ALCS. It's gonna be the Yankees. They're going in.
Look at the shirt I'm wearing, okay? I don't want to say this either, okay? But the New York Yankees, again, when you look at last year, everybody under the sun on that roster was injured at least at one point on the year. And they still won 100-plus games, still had a top-tier offense, and still had a pretty solid pitching staff when you look at both their bullpen and their starting pitching combined. If they're healthy this year, and by all means it looks like they are, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, Gary Sanchez, Luke Voigt, the list goes on and on. That offense will hit home runs. They will get extra base hits. They will walk. They'll do everything they can to score a bunch of runs. And when you add to the fact that, yes, again, Luis Severino is out for the year with Tommy John, but Garrett Cole, James Paxton, Masahiro Tanaka, in 60 games, that might be all that's enough. That might be enough. And then you combine that with that offense, sure, they might give up 3-4 runs, but 7-4, 8-5, 8-3, 6-3, so on and so forth. In 60 games and only 10, 11, 12-ish games in postseason might be enough. I just think that the Yankees, like you said, David, they're the Dodgers in the American League. They have good prospects that have come up. They have a great major league roster, and like we saw with the Garrett Cole signing, they have the moolah, they have the chump change, they have a bunch of it. So I just think it's the Yankees' overall pennant to lose at this point.
Yeah, everybody. I got a lot of flack in the place we work at in Arizona because well, the Yankees and Dodgers are money teams. That's not fair if they're in the World Series. It wasn't any of you two that complained. It was our fourth guy that cries about teams having money. He's like, "I'll never watch this World Series because it's just teams with money." Welcome to society, sir. You've been here for over 20 years. That's how society works. You have the money, you're going to be the top dog.
And honestly, the Dodgers, like, they have money, but we haven't really seen them spend it like the Yankees have. Usually, yes, the Yankees splurged on Garrett Cole, but even before that, they didn't really give out the big tier contracts in 4 or 5 years, which in a short span, that doesn't seem like a lot, but for the Yankees, that's a century. But the Dodgers, this is their first huge contract they've ever given out, I think. It's in a class of its own, and given all the talent they've had and so on, it's surprising they haven't done it before, but they haven't. So even that idea of, they only spend money, I just don't think that that's really true, especially with the Dodgers, because they draft well. They have a great international signing recruiting thing going. They're just really good. I think it's very naive to say that all they do is spend. So Sean, if you're out there, stop. You have your Mariners to worry about. I have my Orioles to worry about too, but you need to worry about the Mariners, bud. Stay out of this. All right, you got this, Cameron.
So we have a consensus World Series, Yankees versus Dodgers, and I'll just jump off the boat. Shouldn't be a surprise. Dodgers in 6. However, I will give my concerns. There are so many concerns with the Dodgers when it comes to playing the Yankees in a potential World Series. Clayton Kershaw, whenever he shows up. I mean, you got so many guys that can go deep. The whole roster pretty much. Aaron Hicks, Aaron Judge, Stanton, Luke Voigt, all of them have the potential to just, with runners on base, just break open the game. And that's concerning when you have a guy like Kershaw who's known for giving it up when it matters. It all is going to come when it's close games come, when it's a Buehler versus Garrett Cole. That bullpen is going to determine who wins this World Series. It's going to be Kershaw's performance and whose bullpen is going to win in games where it's starting pitchers duel. That's really what it comes down to me. I have faith that the Dodgers can get it done, so I'm going to say Dodgers in 6.
Now, first of all, we don't have a consensus World Series pick because if you were listening, I picked the Braves.
You picked the Braves for no reason whatsoever.
No, I picked the Braves for a valid reason, and I'm picking them to win the World Series. I think this is this is more of a story-driven pick for me. Because what did we love about the Nationals last year? They were the underdog. No one expected them to do well. They were the wild card team. They were the one who was down and out and could never actually reach that potential, and they finally did. And all it took for them was getting Bryce Harper off their team to win a World Series.
And Trent Grisham missing the ball in the wild card game.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fluke play like that. That's baseball. And what would the Braves be in a matchup against the Yankees? The underdog. No one would expect them to beat the evil empire or the whatever name you want to call them. It's that point where they could do something because they don't have anything to lose. The Yankees, if they go into a World Series against the Braves and they lose it, they have a lot more that they have to deal with. If the Braves lose it, it's like, oh man, wow, we did a great job, and now we can build on this too to get more pieces that we need to actually contend even more. I'm picking the Braves to win the World Series. I like that team, and I think it's a good bet to make.
Look, Cameron, you're going to make the World Series again. You're not going to win it, though. I'm sorry. Next year, yes. Maybe the year after, yes. But the New York Yankees, I think their bullpen, I think that's their X factor. Aroldis Chapman, Adam Ottavino, Zach Britton. I think that trio is a lot better than the tandem trio that the Dodgers could put up. I think their track record's a lot better. I mean, Aroldis Chapman was one of the X factor pieces that gave the Cubs the World Series in 2016. I think he has that experience, that track record. I just think that overall they're balanced, and it goes back to track record again with the offense. Like you said with Cody Bellinger and so on, they haven't really performed well in the postseason. And while I think that they definitely will in the future, when you compare it to the Yankees, they have performed well in the postseason. I just think that overall the offense is a little more balanced, is a little more experienced, and that bullpen, I think, is that X factor, and I think the Yankees take the cake in that too. Look, your Dodgers will win. Okay, you just got to give it a few more years. Okay.
We're going to close this show with some award predictions. We're going to start with the MVP. I'll just, say it because I already said it. Juan Soto of the Nationals will win MVP, and I think that's going to be the booster that gets Nationals a NL East division title.
For me, it's a tie between Juan Soto and Cody Bellinger. I don't know who to pick.
For me, when I look at the first 60 or so games last season, Cody Bellinger hit. Let me tell you this. He hit 374, 461, 734 slugging in 59 games. Now, look, Christian Yelich will be there and so on and so forth. Juan Soto will be a great pick as well. I just think Cody Bellinger in the regular season is in a class of his own. I'm going to go with Cody.
In the AL, it's going to be Mike Trout again, and it helps with a pretty loaded offensive unit with the Angels now. He's not, he's not the only guy you have to pitch to now. It's now Rendon and Upton and Simmons and all those guys, and then Trout comes up again. So I just don't see how Trout doesn't win the AL MVP once again.
Yeah, is there really anyone else that can, actually challenge him for the MVP, the AL MVP at this point? It's going to be Mike Trout regardless. He's the greatest player of our generation, and when he's done with his career, he most likely will be the greatest player of all time.
I agree. I think in a 60-game season, there will be a lot of good contenders for the MVP, but I think Mike Trout, again, it goes back to track record, goes back to what he's produced already and what he will produce. I think it's Mike Trout's to lose as well.
Closing out with the Cy Young Award, we're going to start in the AL. The AL starting pitchers, it's just not a stacked race. There's really 3-4 pitchers that could win it, and my guy is going to be Garrett Cole. Did incredible with the Astros, and I think going to the Yankees, where the pressure is going to be on him once again, I think he will perform, and he's going to walk out with the Cy Young. I mean, just being on the Yankees does the job enough, and if he just pitches, maybe a 2-7 or a 2-6, it's going to be enough to get the job done to win the AL Cy Young.
I'm going to give you 3 choices that I think have the best chance to win the Cy Young. Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, and this one might be a surprise, Corey Kluber. I like Corey Kluber going to the Rangers. I think it'd be a better fit for him. He's got a better team around him. It's a better situation at this point. I think it's a better fit for him, and I think he will be more relaxed. And if he's healthy, he definitely can come back and be Cy Young form like he was in Cleveland.
Yeah, the Texas Rangers, their rotation there, they could sort of be the Cincinnati Reds, super, super, super light, but I think I'm going to go with a little bit of another dark horse pick that none of y'all mentioned. I'm going to go with Charlie Morton. When you look at Charlie Morton through 60 games last year, he struck out over 11 batters per 9. And look, in a game that involves the home run, we're seeing more home runs than ever. He only gave up less than half, like 0.5 home runs per 9. He doesn't give up any home runs. He has great velocity, great movement on his breaking pitches. I just think that it'd be a great storyline too. I mean, look, people thought he might be retiring soon. He might be calling it quits after this year. We really don't know that, but I'm going to go with Charlie Morton. I just have a feeling.
Moving on to the NL, there are a lot of contenders here. You got Jack Flaherty. Jacob deGrom is going to be a contender. Kershaw, regular season Kershaw, total 180 from playoff Kershaw. But I'm going to go with the other guy on the Dodgers, the guy that should be getting all the credit on the rotation, should be awarded opening day starter, but he was still dealing with some injuries. Walker Buehler. When he returns to pitch against Houston, I think that's going to be the eye-popping moment that goes, oh, this guy was good. This guy's now great. He's going to be the Kershaw replacement. I think he's going to walk into Houston, shut it down, and he's just going to cruise. He's going to be in cruise control until the playoffs. We're talking sub-2 ERA potentially. Now, it depends on if the Dodgers score or not. They will, but when they're in pitchers duels, the Dodgers don't usually score a lot. It's just how they've gone. They usually are in back and forth games, and then when it's a pitchers duel, it's sort of, oh, well, we got to win late. The Dodgers had a ton of walk-off wins last year, so that it's not going to contribute well to Buehler's win-loss, but that's not relevant when it comes to Cy Young. Buehler's going to strike out a lot of guys, likes painting the corners, has a wicked curveball. He has all the tools to become this year's Cy Young.
Now, I don't mind that pick, but and Walker Buehler will definitely be in the conversation, but I think it's hard to bet against anybody like Jacob deGrom or Max Scherzer at this point. Max Scherzer has been the guy for years now, and Jacob deGrom has finally come into his own as a Cy Young winner. So I think if I am a betting man, it would be between Jacob deGrom or Max Scherzer. It'll probably go 1, 2, 3. If I had to pick one now, I'd probably say deGrom just based on he's younger than Scherzer, and if he stays healthy, he'll be fine. So I would say deGrom wins Cy Young, then Scherzer at a good second, and then Walker Buehler at third.
Here I go again with another dark horse pick. Look, when you think of a Cy Young pitcher, you think of an electric fastball, a 12-6 curve of no other. However, this pitcher has the nastiest changeup in the game. And I'm going to go with that Cincinnati Reds love again. Luis Castillo, young pitcher, really coming into his own. Great strikeouts. If he can get the walks down a little bit more, I think they take him to the next step. But he has the velocity. And again, a changeup. You don't really think of a changeup as that put-away pitch, but he has that great changeup. And I think that this year he finally puts it all together, even in a shortened season. Watch out for Castillo.
I was going to say Trevor Bauer.
Another good pick?
Yeah, I like Trevor Bauer on the Reds, but that's a good one. That's underrated. I like that.
That will do it for this episode of the Rich Report. Oh my, baseball is really back. Can you believe it? Tomorrow, Yankees and Nationals kick things off for 2020. Thanks for watching if you did on YouTube, and thanks for listening if you're on Apple or Spotify. We'll be back on Friday for the weekend preview and our Fruit Loops of the week. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.